The three dots on my meeting notification changed to green. Everyone was already connected, except I wasn't supposed to be on this call at all. The system glitch had added me automatically when Roger scheduled it, a quirk in our outdated calendar software that occasionally duplicated invites to previous attendees. Let's get straight to the point. Roger's voice filtered through my earbuds. We fire her tomorrow. Claim performance issues. The board is getting antsy about those quarterly projections. Astrid's been asking too many questions, Viveka added, her usual smooth tone edged with irritation. Last week, she came to me wanting explanation about the Anderson account discrepancies. I froze, mouse hovering mid-click over a spreadsheet, my name in their mouths, my termination being planned while I sat 2 floors below them, working late as usual. Legal's prepared everything, said Hugh from HR. Clean exit, generous severance if she signs immediately. If not, we emphasize the performance concerns, make it clear fighting this would be unwise for her future prospects. And if she keeps pushing about the numbers, ask someone I couldn't identify. She won't, Roger replied. We'll call her upstairs at 9 a.m. sharp. Security will be standing by. Standard protocol, account access terminated the moment she enters the meeting room, belongings packed while she's upstairs. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept completely silent on the call. 3 years of dedication to this investment firm, promoted twice, late nights, missed weekends, all those client relationships I'd carefully cultivated, and now, disposable, because I'd noticed money moving where it shouldn't be. We need her access badge deactivated immediately after, Viveka continued. She knows too much about our internal systems. That brings me to another point, Roger added. We'll need to restructure how the quarterly reporting works. No one person should have visibility across all the portfolios, like Astrid does. It creates unnecessary complications. I disconnected, unable to listen further. They were all still in that 7th floor conference room, which meant the HR suite on 3 would be empty, and I needed what was in there. The emergency stairwell was silent as I descended. My hand trembled slightly, but my mind remained crystalline clear. 3 flights down, I paused at the door marked 3 and took a deep breath. I had maybe 20 minutes before their meeting concluded. The HR department had 2 entrances, the main glass doors everyone used, and a rarely accessed back entrance near the supply area. My regular badge wouldn't work for HR after hours, but 6 months ago, during a system crash, I'd watched the tech support manager override the lock with an administrative code. 5 digits. I remembered them perfectly. Green light. The door clicked open. The darkened HR suite felt forbidden, the hushed atmosphere charged with risk. I navigated between cubicles by memory, heading for Hugh's office. His assistant Marvin was notoriously careless with security. When I'd helped him with a system issue last month, he'd written his password on a scrap of paper, then tucked it beneath his desk calendar. Sure enough, Summerlab 2023. Within minutes, I accessed their secure drive. My fingers flew across the keyboard, searching for any communications about me, about the Anderson account, about the quarterly numbers that wouldn't add up for anyone looking closely. I found them, internal messages discussing how to handle the situation, meeting notes about necessary adjustments to client accounts, attachments with dual versions of financial reports. I forwarded everything to my personal email and to a backup address I'd created when I first noticed the discrepancies. The timestamps showed clearly who had altered what, when, and how. My suspicions confirmed in black and white. A noise from the hallway jolted me. I logged out, restored everything to its previous state, and slipped toward the back exit. Through the small window in the door, I glimpsed the elevator light illuminating. Someone coming to this floor. I eased through the door and took the stairs down to the parking garage, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. My boss's luxury sedan still occupied his premium spot. The termination planning session continued above me. I drove home with windows down despite the autumn chill, needing the cold air to think clearly. One call remained, to Imani, the former finance director who'd left the company last year amid unclear circumstances. The woman who'd trained me, who'd always emphasized integrity in our industry. The woman who now worked directly with our largest investor. Meet me tonight, I said when she answered. I need your expertise. Before sunrise, we'd traced every manipulation, every hidden transfer. Imani's expression hardened as we followed the money trail. This isn't creative accounting, she said. This is something far worse. I slept briefly before returning to the office, dressed in my most confident outfit. At 8:50 a.m., I stepped off the elevator, nodding to coworkers. Roger looked startled to see me, phone pressed to his ear, his face draining of color mid-sentence. Meeting canceled, he snapped to Viveka, who approached with a folder. Situations changed. An all-staff email arrived at 9:15. Our largest investor had requested an emergency audit, effective immediately. External personnel would be arriving within the hour. Before we continue further, thank you for joining me on this intense journey. If my story has captured your attention so far, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything, and there's much more to come as I reveal exactly how I turned the tables on those who tried to destroy my career. Drop a comment about what you would have done in my position. I read every single one. My name is Astrid Morales, and until yesterday, I was senior financial analyst at one of Boston's most prestigious investment management firms. My colleagues described me as meticulous, reserved, the quiet one who listened more than she spoke, the person who remembered every detail from meetings months earlier, the one who could identify patterns across thousands of entries in financial reports. I hadn't planned on becoming a whistleblower. Growing up with immigrant parents who worked endless hours in their small grocery store had taught me to keep my head down, work hard, and be grateful for opportunities. My father's favorite phrase, never make waves at work, Astrid, the ocean always wins. But he'd also taught me something else. Integrity isn't negotiable. I joined the firm after completing my master's in financial analysis. Starting in client relations, I moved to portfolio management, then to internal compliance review. Each promotion revealed more of how the company operated, more of the complex machinery behind the impressive returns we promised clients. The discrepancies started appearing 8 months ago. Subtle at first, timing differences between transactions, inconsistent fee structures across similar accounts. Nothing definitively wrong, just odd. Then came the Anderson account, a $50 million portfolio, suddenly showing activity that contradicted the client's stated investment strategy. I flagged it to Roger. Interesting catch, he said, taking my analysis. I'll review this with the executive team. A week later, the numbers had been adjusted. Problem solved, apparently. Except the underlying transactions remained unchanged. Only the reporting had shifted. I approached Viveka next, our chief operating officer. These patterns suggest systematic issues, I explained, showing her spreadsheets tracking similar discrepancies across multiple accounts. Financial systems are complex, she replied, not really looking at my evidence. Sometimes apparent issues are just artifacts of how data flows between platforms. Let's not create problems where none exist, Astrid. But they did exist. The more I looked, the more I found. Client funds being temporarily diverted before major reporting periods. Returns inflated through accounting tricks. Small amounts from multiple accounts pooled for unauthorized investments, then redistributed before clients would notice. 3 weeks ago, I documented everything and prepared a comprehensive report for the compliance committee. The day before my scheduled presentation, Roger announced a reorganization of the compliance function. My presentation was postponed indefinitely. That should have been my warning. Now, as external auditors swarmed our floor and Roger paced nervously between meetings, I maintained a facade of confused concern. What's happening? I asked a colleague. Why are these people from Sanderson Investments here? No one knows, he whispered, but management looks terrified. By noon, more visitors arrived. Not accountants this time, federal agents. They set up in our largest conference room, calling executives in, one by one. Roger spotted me watching from my desk. He stormed over, leaning close. What did you do? He hissed, eyes wild with panic. I looked up from my computer, expression neutral. I'm just doing my job, Roger. Exactly what I've always done. His face contorted. You have no idea what you've started. When this is over, a federal agent interrupted. Mr. Westfield, we're ready for you now? As Roger walked away, Viveka caught my eye from across the office. The realization dawning on her face would have been satisfying if the stakes weren't so serious. This wasn't just about my job anymore. This was about every client whose trust had been betrayed, every investor misled by falsified returns. My phone buzzed with a text from Amani. Sanderson executives want to meet you privately. Conference room B, 15 minutes. My hands trembled slightly as I gathered my notes. The path ahead would be difficult. Whistleblowers rarely emerged unscathed, regardless of their justification. As I walked toward the meeting, Roger emerged from his interrogation, face ashen. He grabbed my arm, pulling me aside. "You'll regret this," he whispered. "You think you're some kind of hero? You've destroyed years of work. People will lose everything because you couldn't mind your own business." I removed his hand from my arm. People were already losing everything, Roger. Their retirement funds, their children's college savings, their financial security. "You understand nothing about how this industry really works," he snarled. "That's where you're wrong," I replied. "I understand exactly how it's supposed to work, and I understand exactly what you did." As I turned to walk away, he called after me, "This isn't over, Astrid. You have no idea what's coming for you." I paused, looking back at the man who had planned to discard me like yesterday's newspaper. "Neither do you, Roger," I said quietly. "Neither do you." The door to conference room B loomed ahead. Inside waited representatives from our largest investor, federal investigators, and a future I couldn't predict. But one thing was certain: I wasn't the one who should be afraid. The door to conference room B felt heavier than usual. Inside, 5 people waited, 3 in expensive suits I didn't recognize, plus Imani and a woman with a federal agent badge displayed on her blazer. "Miss Morales," said the oldest of the suited individuals, standing to greet me. "I'm Tanner Sanderson. These are my colleagues, Lena and Philip. We appreciate you meeting with us during what must be an extraordinarily difficult day." Tanner Sanderson, the founding partner of Sanderson Investments, our largest client with over $3 billion in managed assets. The man whose name graced the lobby of our building and whose reputation in financial circles was legendary. "I wish we were meeting under different circumstances," I said, taking the offered seat. "Agent Carlisle has briefed us on some troubling activities," Tanner continued, nodding toward the federal agent, "but Imani suggested you might provide greater context." I placed my laptop on the table. I've been tracking irregularities for approximately 8 months. At first, I believed they were system errors or oversights. By month 3, the pattern became unmistakable. For the next hour, I walked them through everything: the diverted funds, the manipulated reports, the careful shell game that had been played with their money. I showed them the trails I'd discovered and the documentation I'd secretly compiled. "Why didn't you come to us directly?" Lena asked. She was younger than the others, sharp-eyed with a precision to her questions that reminded me of myself. "Until yesterday, I still believed internal channels might resolve this," I admitted. "I tried multiple times. When I overheard them planning my termination specifically to prevent further inquiry, I realized the problem went higher than I'd initially thought." Agent Carlisle leaned forward. "You understand you're making serious allegations against executives of this firm. The evidence suggests financial crimes that could carry significant penalties." "I understand, and you should also understand," Philip added, his voice gentler than his colleagues, "that whistleblowers often face challenging professional futures, even when they're clearly in the right." The weight of what I'd done settled more heavily on my shoulders. "Some things matter more than career advancement," I said quietly. Tanner studied me for a long moment. "Imani spoke highly of your integrity. Now I see why." He turned to Agent Carlisle. "We'll cooperate fully with your investigation. In the meantime, we'll need to secure our assets currently under management here." The meeting concluded with arrangements for me to provide formal statements in the coming days. As we stood to leave, Imani lingered behind with me. "You did the right thing," she said once we were alone. "But Roger has powerful friends. This won't be a simple resolution." "I know, but what choice did I have?" She squeezed my shoulder. "None. That's why they targeted you. They knew you wouldn't look away." The office had transformed in just a few hours. Federal agents occupied several conference rooms. Employees huddled in corners, whispering nervously. A team from IT worked under supervision, securing systems and restricting access to financial platforms. I returned to my desk to find Viveka waiting. Her usual polished composure had cracked, revealing something harder beneath. "You think you've won," she said, voice low, "but you have no idea what forces you've set in motion. These people," she gestured toward the federal agents, "will be gone in a week. We'll still be here. The industry will still be here. And everyone will know exactly what you did." "What I did? I didn't steal from clients. No, you just betrayed everyone who works here. Do you think the firm survives this? Do you think all these people keep their jobs when you've painted targets on our backs?" Her words landed like blows. I hadn't considered the broader implications for my colleagues, many of whom knew nothing about the manipulation happening at higher levels. The people responsible should be held accountable, I said, less confidently. Such a simplistic view. Viveka leaned closer. The market doesn't reward heroes, Astrid. It rewards winners. Remember that when you're trying to find your next position. She straightened, smoothing her skirt. Oh, and Roger asked me to deliver a message. Check your personal accounts. That's all he said. She walked away, leaving me cold despite the overheated office air. My phone was already showing multiple notifications. Hands shaking, I opened my banking app. My accounts showed 0 balances, completely emptied. My investment accounts displayed error messages. My credit score alert showed a catastrophic 200-point drop overnight. They had anticipated me. Somehow, they had prepared for this possibility. I called my bank immediately, stepping into an empty meeting room for privacy. This is unauthorized activity. I explained to the customer service representative. I didn't transfer these funds. I understand your concern, Miss Morales, but these transactions were authorized using your security credentials and verification codes. They appear to be legitimate transfers to an offshore investment account under your name. My stomach dropped. I never opened any offshore account. The documentation we received indicates otherwise. There's a signature matching yours on file, dated 3 months ago. 3 months ago, exactly when I'd first brought my concerns to Roger. This is fraud, I insisted. I need these transactions reversed. I'm afraid we'll need to investigate before taking any action. That typically takes 30 to 90 days, during which the funds will remain unavailable. Every aspect of my financial life had been weaponized against me. By the time I ended the call, 2 more notifications had appeared. My apartment building's management portal showed an eviction notice for illegal activity, and my health insurance displayed a termination for non-payment. They weren't just firing me, they were erasing me. I leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe properly. This was the moment they had planned for, my complete destruction, when I became a threat. They had created a perfect trap, making it appear I'd been stealing the very funds I was reporting missing. When Agent Carlyle found me there 10 minutes later, I'd managed to regain some composure. We need to talk, she said, closing the door. Your colleagues are painting an interesting picture. According to them, you've been manipulating reports to hide your own unauthorized activities. That's not true. They have evidence suggesting you created false documentation to cover embezzlement. They claim you realized you were about to be discovered and are attempting to shift blame. They manufactured that evidence. I can prove the timeline. With what? The copies you sent yourself last night, after you gained unauthorized access to HR systems? Her expression softened slightly. Miss Morales, I've seen this before. Corporations protect themselves. They create paper trails, build narratives. By the time we untangle everything, lives are ruined. So you believe them. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. I believe evidence. Right now, both sides have compelling stories. We'll investigate thoroughly. She handed me her card. Don't leave town. And I'd suggest getting legal representation immediately. When she left, I remained frozen in place. They had prepared so thoroughly, anticipated my every move. While I'd been tracking financial discrepancies, they'd been building a case against me, creating a perfect counter-narrative. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Car park level B, 10 minutes. Come alone if you want help. A friend. Trust seemed dangerous now, but options were rapidly disappearing. I gathered my belongings, ignoring the stares of colleagues as I walked through the main office. Many averted their eyes. I was already toxic, already condemned. The elevator descended to the parking garage. Each floor passing felt like counting down to some inevitable conclusion. The concrete structure was dimly lit and eerily quiet at midday. I clutched my phone, prepared to call for help if necessary. A figure emerged from behind a support column. Astrid. I nearly collapsed with relief. Darius had worked in our legal department until 6 months ago, when he'd suddenly resigned. Office rumors suggested a disagreement with executive leadership. I heard what's happening, he said, glancing toward the elevator. They're setting you up exactly like they did me. The difference is, I caved under pressure. What do you mean? When I found irregularities in client contracts last year, they created evidence suggesting I'd been the one altering terms. They gave me a choice: resign quietly with a reference or face prosecution. I chose the easy path. His expression hardened. I've regretted it every day since. Why are you helping me now? Because you did what I couldn't. But you need to understand, they're not just trying to discredit you professionally, they want to destroy you completely. They've already emptied my accounts, tanked my credit, started eviction proceedings. That's just the beginning. Roger has connections throughout the industry, in regulatory bodies, even in some media outlets. The narrative they're building will make you unemployable anywhere in finance. I leaned against a concrete pillar, the cool surface grounding me. So what do? Run? No. You fight, but not the way they expect. He handed me a thumb drive. This contains communications from when they targeted me. It won't save you alone, but it establishes a pattern of behavior. Why didn't you use this yourself? Darius smiled bitterly. Because I signed their agreement. Legally, I can't disclose anything about the firm without facing consequences. You haven't signed anything yet. They've already made me look guilty. Of course they have. That's why you need to. He stopped abruptly, looking past me. Someone's coming. Take this and contact me through the email address inside. Don't trust anyone else in the firm. He disappeared between parked cars as footsteps approached from behind. Astrid, Viveka's voice echoed in the garage. What are you doing down here alone? I slipped the thumb drive into my pocket, turning to face her with as neutral an expression as I could manage. Just getting some air. It's been an overwhelming day. She smiled, the expression never reaching her eyes. Indeed, the board has called an emergency meeting. They'd like you to attend to share your concerns. The way she emphasized that last word made it clear what kind of meeting this would be. Not an opportunity to be heard. A trap designed to complete my professional execution. Of course, I replied, matching her false smile. I have plenty to share. The board meeting was scheduled for 3 p.m. in our most imposing conference room, the Fortress, as employees called it. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city, while the massive oak table and high-backed leather chairs were designed to intimidate anyone sitting at the lower end. I arrived 5 minutes early to find Roger, Viveka, and 6 board members already seated. No federal agents, no representatives from Sanderson Investments, just me facing the collective power of the firm's leadership. Astrid, Roger greeted me with artificial warmth. Thank you for joining us during this difficult time. The board wanted to hear directly from you about these allegations. I took the sole empty chair at the far end of the table. The distance was deliberate, physically separating me from their circle of power. Before we begin, said Eleanor, the board chairwoman, we want to emphasize that this is an informal discussion. We're simply trying to understand the situation fully. Of course, I replied, opening my laptop. That won't be necessary, Viveka interjected. This isn't a presentation, just a conversation. I closed the laptop but kept it in front of me. I'm happy to converse. Eleanor leaned forward. Astrid, we've received concerning information about your activities over the past several months. Financial discrepancies that appear to trace back to your access credentials. Interesting timing, I observed. These concerns emerge only after I report fraud at executive levels. Roger's smile tightened. No one has confirmed any fraud. What we have confirmed is unauthorized access to secured systems last night, from your login, because I discovered you were planning to terminate me to prevent me from revealing what I'd found. The board members exchanged glances. I recognized their expressions. They'd already decided. This wasn't an investigation. It was theater. We have documentation, Viveka said, sliding folders to each board member, showing systematic manipulation of client accounts. The activity originated from Astrid's workstation. Using her credentials, the boardroom felt suddenly airless as they reviewed pages of what appeared to be damning evidence against me. This is fabricated, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. You created this after I reported the actual fraud. That's a serious accusation, Eleanor replied. Do you have evidence supporting your version? I've provided everything to federal investigators and Sanderson Investments. Convenient, Roger smirked. Claims without proof. For the next hour, they took turns dismantling my character and credibility. They produced altered emails making it appear I'd discussed moving client funds. They showed transactions initiated under my login. They even presented a psychological evaluation that I'd never undergone, suggesting I was unstable and vindictive after being passed over for promotion. We're disappointed, Astrid, Eleanor concluded. Your work had been exemplary until this breakdown. The board has unanimously voted to terminate your employment effective immediately. We won't be pursuing criminal charges, Roger added magnanimously, provided you sign our separation agreement. It includes confidentiality provisions and a non-disparagement clause. Viveka slid a thick document toward me. Standard terms. You'll surrender any claims against the firm and refrain from discussing internal matters. In exchange, we'll provide neutral references and 6 weeks severance. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. This was their endgame. Silence me, discredit me, and move on. If I refused, they'd unleash their fabricated evidence in a criminal complaint. I reached for the document, flipping through pages of legal jargon designed to bury me. You need me to sign this today? I asked, voice deliberately small. Roger couldn't hide his satisfaction. The offer expires at close of business. Given your current financial situation, which we understand has become rather precarious, I'd suggest careful consideration. His knowledge of my emptied bank accounts confirmed his involvement. The trap had been masterfully executed. May I have a moment to review it? Of course, Eleanor said. We'll give you some privacy. The board members filed out, leaving me alone in the fortress. Through the glass walls, I could see them gathered in the hallway, already celebrating their victory. Roger laughed at something Viveka said, patting her shoulder with the casual confidence of someone who never loses. My phone buzzed with a text from Imani. In position, 4th floor conference room. I exhaled slowly. The pieces were aligning. When the board returned 15 minutes later, I had the agreement in front of me, pen in hand. I have one question, I said as they settled back into their chairs. This clause about all copies of company information, that includes anything I might have sent to personal accounts? Yes, Viveka confirmed eagerly. All copies, all formats, everywhere. I nodded thoughtfully. And if I sign, the company considers the matter closed? No further action against me? Provided you comply fully, Eleanor said. We have no desire for protracted conflicts. I understand. I looked down at the signature page, pen hovering above the line. Roger leaned forward, unable to hide his anticipation. This was his moment of triumph, watching me surrender. I set the pen down. I'm afraid I can't sign this. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Roger's expression hardened. That would be unwise, Astrid. Extremely unwise. Perhaps, I agreed, but I've learned something valuable from all of you. Always know your leverage points. I stood, gathering my belongings calmly. While you've been busy constructing your narrative against me, I've been quite occupied myself. Right now, there's another meeting happening in this building. 4th floor conference room. Confusion flickered across their faces. What meeting? Viveka demanded. Sanderson Investments isn't just meeting with federal investigators, I explained. They're meeting with their legal team, the State Financial Regulatory Board, and representatives from your other 6 largest client organizations. Roger stood abruptly. What have you done? When I realized what was happening 8 months ago, I didn't just document the fraud. I created a comprehensive analysis of exactly which clients were affected and by how much. I traced every manipulation, every false report, every diverted fund, not as an employee, but as an independent financial analyst. Eleanor's face paled. You had no authorization. I didn't need authorization. Imani hired me personally as a consultant to Sanderson Investments 3 months ago. Everything I've analyzed was at their request, through proper channels, with signed agreements. The revelation landed like a thunderbolt. While they thought I was working late on company projects, I had been methodically building a parallel investigation with the firm's largest client, one beyond their reach to suppress. That's not possible, Roger sputtered. You can't work for a client while employed here. It violates your contract. I pulled a document from my bag. My contract prohibits outside employment without disclosure and approval. 3 months ago, I submitted this formal disclosure. You signed it, Roger. You were distracted during the Wilson merger negotiations, but here's your signature approving my financial analysis consulting project. His face contorted as he recognized his own signature on the paper, a document he'd carelessly authorized among dozens during that hectic week. Everything I've done has been by the book, I continued. Every analysis, every investigation, all properly documented with timestamps, witnesses, and authorization. Meanwhile, your elaborate setup against me required breaking numerous laws. No one will believe you over us, Viveka insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. That's why I never acted alone. Darius provided evidence of your previous pattern with him. 3 other former employees came forward with similar experiences. And Imani, who you all believed was simply consulting for Sanderson, has actually been building their internal investigation unit. The position they offered me last year that I declined, she accepted it. I walked to the door, turning back one final time. The offshore account where my money was transferred. It's frozen now. The trail leads directly back to your personal server, Roger. Not very sophisticated for someone so concerned about people looking too closely at the numbers. The boardroom erupted into chaos behind me as I walked out. Eleanor was already on her phone, likely calling their outside counsel. Roger shouted accusations, while Viveka attempted to access systems from her tablet, systems that had already been locked by federal authorities. In the 4th floor conference room, Imani greeted me with a tight hug. "It's done," she said. "All 8 major clients have pulled their investments pending investigation. The regulators have frozen the firm's trading capabilities." Tanner Sanderson approached, extending his hand. "Miss Morales, your analysis was impeccable. We've been concerned about irregularities for some time but couldn't pinpoint their source. Your documentation provided exactly what we needed." "What happens now?" I asked. "For them? Years of investigations, lawsuits, and likely criminal charges," said Agent Carlyle, joining our conversation. "For you? That depends." "On what?" "On whether you'll accept our offer," Tanner replied. "Sanderson Investments needs someone with your skills and integrity to head our new compliance division. Someone who values truth over personal gain. A considerable salary increase would accompany the position," Imani added with a smile, "along with guaranteed autonomy to build the department as you see fit." I thought of Roger's face when he realized I'd outmaneuvered him, not through deception, but through meticulous adherence to rules he thought he could bend at will. "I'd be honored," I replied. 3 months later, the former executives of my old firm were indicted on 37 counts of financial fraud. I testified at preliminary hearings, presenting the evidence I'd gathered, both as their employee and as Sanderson's consultant. My bank accounts were restored. The fabricated evidence against me dismantled by federal forensic accountants. The company that had tried to destroy me now existed only in court filings and cautionary tales told at industry conferences. The key had never been playing their game. It had been creating my own board entirely. If you've made it this far in my story, I want to thank you for listening. Life doesn't always give us clean victories against those who abuse power, but sometimes preparation meets opportunity in just the right way. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life accounts of corporate justice. What would you have done in my situation? Leave a comment below. I read every one and would love to hear your thoughts on standing up to workplace corruption. Remember, your greatest power often lies in staying true to your principles, even when it seems the whole system is against you.